Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to how dollar stores quietly consumed America. And I mean, we have pound stores in the UK, which is actually a bit more expensive. Dollar stores, to be fair, that would be like 70p, like having 70p stores or 70 pence stores in the UK. Maybe even less, like 65p stores or something. But I mean, typically in pound stores, there's one called Poundland. It's like a chain, Poundland, throughout the UK. And they do have stuff for a pound, but now it's a lot of things for like £2 or £4. You'll get like cheaper deals, but it's not even necessarily just £1 anymore. It's just a way of saying it's a cheap store, and you do get £1 stuff as well. But I don't really know how they do it. Do they just buy stuff in such big bulk, which makes it so much cheaper that they end up making profit even when they sell stuff for so cheap? I don't really know, but we're gonna check this out and see how this is the case in the US. I don't know any names for any of the dollar stores in the US. It's probably Dollar Land or something like that, like we have Poundland or whatever. But we're going to check this out and see. But hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon, where you can see some reactions that I can't post to YouTube, like Back to the Future. I've done a few reactions to that. And when the weather gets cooler, because it's been quite hot in the UK the past few days, I'm going to be doing a lot more reactions on my Patreon, like film, because they're long 2-hour reactions. I can't sit 35 degrees in my house for 2 hours straight after doing YouTube reactions. But once it's not hot, which is in the next 4 days, I think it's back to like 20 degrees, which is fine to do reactions in. I'll be posting a lot on there. But yeah, links are there for those interested. But let's check this out and see how they've consumed America.
To a certain slightly uninformed expert, this Dollar General in Faith, South Dakota would seem an economic impossibility disproven only by its existence. Faith is a tiny place, a remote, no stoplight prairie town of 367. It's got a couple of gas stations and a couple of inns and restaurants and an auto parts store, but what it doesn't have is a single nationwide brand. It doesn't have a single branch of any store, restaurant, or service that exists beyond the region around, except for Dollar General.
Okay.
But that doesn't explain the full extent of the anomaly.
How can a store with such a small town survive? Like, they're not selling products here for hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars. It's cheap as chips. How are you surviving?
Because Dollar General isn't just the only chain in Faith, it's the only chain in a 45-minute radius until one arrives at this Dairy Queen in the far larger 3,000-person tribal capital of Eagle Butte.
Oh.
A 367-person population just isn't typically enough to attract a nationwide brand. There's just not enough money in the area to make capturing it attractive, and yet somehow, Dollar General makes it work. While perhaps an extreme example, there's no secret about Faith. It's not some tourist mecca, it's not an interstate oasis. It does sit at the intersection between a state and US highway, but it's not on the fastest route between any two cities. So this store, somehow, is sustained by the tiny community that surrounds it. This is anomalous in the context of national retailers, but not in the context of Dollar General. They're consistently persistent in places simply too small for other chains.
Okay.
Its next nearest location to the north is in a town of 1,200, to the east 1,100, and to the south and west.
So they're just in tiny little towns. Like, these are very small towns. These are like they're really fucking small. How is it surviving? What the fuck?
540 and 590 respectively. Walmart is also one of the most regular retailers in rural America, but they don't even come close to these numbers. There's no way to know for sure which are their lowest traffic stores, and therefore what the minimum population that can support their economics is, but by letting the quantity of Google reviews act as an imperfect proxy, their location in Gunnison emerges as Colorado's least popular location.
Okay.
6,700 live within a 20-minute driving radius of this store, but revenue is likely buoyed by its positioning at the start of the dead-end highway up to the tourist town of Crested Butte. Similarly, Wyoming's least popular Walmart is its outpost in Rawlins, with a 6,300 person population within the same radius, but once again, its revenue is likely boosted by its location along Interstate 80.
So they're very smart about where they put their stores. Firstly, they're not in towns anywhere near as small. Don't get me wrong, they're small towns, but nowhere near as small. And they are on roads or interstates or whatever, where it's leading to somewhere that a lot of people go to, or it's just one of the busiest interstates, or just an interstate in general, you know?
So perhaps the best evidence of the minimum population to support the retailer's economics comes from Alaska,
Okay.
where its least
This would be a bit more isolated, I
popular
think.
store sits on the island of Kodiak.
See, that is quite wild to me, because this island, I'm sure there's not many other places where people live on this island.
Retailer's economics
Firstly, it's Alaska. Secondly, they've got to like get ships to go to this Walmart. So I mean, the prices in this Walmart must be crazy expensive.
comes from Alaska, where its least popular store sits on the island of Kodiak. 8,700 people live within a 20-minute radius, and there's clearly no interstate traffic coming through. Walmart revolutionized retail through its ability to turn a profit in small, remote communities like Kodiak. Its impact decimated the American Main Street, but Dollar General has taken that to a new extreme.
And I'm thinking about Dollar General. Is it a store where you can buy like your groceries and stuff? Because the dollar stores here or the pound stores here, you can only buy like sort of sweets or like sprays. Like you can buy a lot of things, but it's not like groceries. You can't buy like fruit, for example, or like your daily sort of day-to-day things. I mean, you do buy day-to-day things, but it's not like somewhere you'd shop for, like your weekly shop. You'd go there to get certain things. I'm wondering if this Dollar General, like Dollar Generals in general, people do their weekly shops and stuff. Because if that's the case, then that is quite a big difference to the ones we have in the UK.
Where Walmart entrenches itself in the thousands, Dollar General deals in the hundreds. This revolutionary retail concept starts on the inside. Total staff headcount at a given location typically sits between 6 and 10, and of those, just 2 or 3 might work at a given time. Given typical hourly rates and typical opening hours, that means Dollar General can spend as little as $300 to $400 a day staffing their lowest traffic stores. Then there's product offering complexity. A Walmart averages 140,000 unique products. They'll sell Coke in 10-count mini cans, 30-count mini cans, 12-count full-size cans, 24-count full-size cans, 12-count mini bottles, 6-count full-size bottles, 12-count full-size bottles, 1-count 2-liter bottles, 4-count 4-liter bottles, and then they'll offer all these sizes for Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Cherry Coke, and then they'll offer this same spread for every other soda brand and its variants, which is incredibly convenient.
Yeah.
They have the exact soda, variant, bottle size, type, and quantity that any given person wants, but the permutations really add up. More individual products require a more complex supply chain, more floor space, and added staffing dedicated to organization, which adds to cost for the retailer. Dollar General, meanwhile, keeps it simple. They offer just 10,000 unique products, but they do this primarily not by reducing how many product categories they sell, but rather the optionality within each category. In a way, they're trying to be a mini Walmart, offering a one-stop shop experience as long as you're willing to compromise on brand, size, quality, or quantity of a given product.
Also, Dollar General, like, you just get like off-branded stuff. Is that sort of what it is then? A lot of it's just off-brand. It's not. I mean, there's Twix and stuff, which is like, there's branded stuff. But like, I was looking at the cereals.
Willing to compromise on brand, size, quality, or
Fruity Pebbles. Cocoa Puffs. So yeah, I guess you just get like, well, you got Fruit Loops, to be fair. Maybe these aren't off brands, to be fair. I don't know much about American cereals. Maybe I'm wrong actually, because I mean these all look like they're branded, to be honest.
quantity of a given product. So whereas Walmart has a pan or toilet paper or detergent aisle, Dollar General has a pan, a toilet paper, or a detergent. Now, Walmart is likely able to purchase Tide detergent from Procter & Gamble for a fairly low price because it's the largest retailer in the world and therefore has very strong negotiating power. If it were to stop stocking Tide, P&G's revenues would take an enormous hit. But correspondingly, given the popularity of Tide, Walmart could take a hit if consumers decided to go to Target to buy the brand instead. Dollar General, meanwhile, has that same enormous negotiating power with their same enormous size, but crucially, they don't have to stock everything. Walmart's competitive advantage is that they're the definitive one-stop shop. They combine the local supermarket, hardware, electronics, home goods, and clothing stores into one. Dollar General's competitive advantage is that they're the shop. They are the only game in town, and so they just need to offer one brand of laundry detergent, and that's the detergent people will get.
Okay.
This bestows enormous
That detergent brand must be very happy with that.
negotiating leverage. Manufacturers will bend to their whims in order to become the Dollar General detergent supplier, meaning they might be able to get a similar or even better deal from P&G on detergent pricing than even Walmart. That's what leads to products like this. Dollar General's $1 Tide brand detergent.
So they've got their own brand. They've made their own, like Tide have made their own bottle for $1 General. That's kind of cool.
To balance the retailer's need for a low-cost offering with their desire to maintain a premium name brand image, Procter & Gamble has gone out of their way to manufacture a $1 Tide detergent bottle.
Wow.
Now, Walmart actually sells this same product for less.
What the fuck is this? What's going on here? Is there a robot cleaning the aisle or what?
Their 128 fluid ounce size works out to under 12 cents per load, almost half of Dollar General's 20 cents per, but Dollar General's target consumer is one who is severely cash strapped. They cater to the class of consumers that might want to spend $10 on bulk detergent that will last for months, but chooses the $1 option regardless to keep enough cash on hand to pay rent before their next payday. So Dollar General actually charges more per load, and even better, their consumer will want to come back sooner than Walmart's to buy a refill, at which time they'll also buy whatever else they need, therefore extracting more revenue. But Dollar General's true strategic linchpin is the most anomalous aspect of its business model: its remote locations. The retailer has turned what would be a weakness for others into the core of its strength. It starts with cost. Rent at this store in North Creek, New York is $118,000 a year, at this store in Sullivan, Maine, $103,000 a year, and at that Faith, South Dakota location, $106,000.
It ain't cheap. So that's just the annual rent. Then you got to think about the importing price, because a lot of them are quite remote. So that's got to be costly every year. Definitely adds up, but I guess the money they make overall is just, it outweighs it so much more.
A year. That works out to between $300 and $400 in rent per day, which, added to their $300 or $400 in daily staffing costs, underpins Dollar General's ability to run a store with under $1,000 of overhead per day. In general, they just won't set up a location in a place where they'll have to pay over $150,000 or so in annual rent. It just breaks their low-cost business model. But low rent costs are far from the key that unlocks rural America. Rather, remoteness itself enables their remoteness. Take their location in Haven, Kansas. This is a town of 1,170 that simply does not have a grocery store. They have a gas station and a liquor store and a coffee shop and diner, but they don't have a grocery store. Dollar General is not a grocery store, but their locations do stock shelf-stable dry goods and frozen food, and some sell a limited supply of perishables. The closest dedicated grocery store is a full 10-minute drive away in the next town, and it's small, not one that could necessarily fulfill all of a person's needs. The closest supermarket is a full 22 minutes away in the city of Hutchinson, so what happens in practice when Dollar General enters a market like Haven is that rather than making that 10 or 22-minute trip, people shop out of the local Dollar General for regular day-to-day needs, then make less frequent trips to the distant grocery store for fresh and specialty items.
Okay.
But increasingly, this pattern isn't confined.
I wasn't imagining a dollar store being like a grocery store. Obviously, it's different to how we have it in the UK. Like the pound store's not like got groceries and stuff. I mean, he says there's not fresh stuff, so I guess it's more frozen and all that sort of stuff. But it's so fascinating to me.
Confined to Dollar General, and it isn't confined to rural America either. This is Atlanta, Georgia, and the surrounding cities, suburbs, and communities that comprise much of the broader Atlanta metro area. This is a map of their most common grocery stores: Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Lidl, Publix, Kroger, and...
There's a few Lidls there. Damn. To be fair, in terms of cheap shopping, Lidl and I think Aldi's cheaper here. I get confused between the two. Lidl and Aldi are like the go-to sort of cheap stores for like groceries and all that sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong, if I drove, I would, because I've got one that's not too far, but in walking distance it's just too much. But when I do learn to drive, that's probably going to be where I shop, because in terms of price, it's so much cheaper.
Walmart. They all do the same thing. They all trend north and east. But people live here too, and they too need food to eat and stores to buy food to eat. For anyone, this would make grocery shopping more of a pain than it already is. Making things more difficult though, this gap of grocery stores is also home to the metro area's least mobile, as these census tracts contain, in the words of the USDA's Food Access Atlas, more than 100 households with no access to a vehicle and are more than a half mile from the nearest supermarket. Unsurprisingly, this correlates closely with tracts that are low income, as all these areas have a poverty rate of over 20% or a median family income of less than 80% of the median income for the state or metro area. Put together, Atlanta residents with the least money and least mobility are the farthest from supermarkets. Now, of course, it's not a simple coincidence that some of the poorest and least mobile populations of Atlanta are farthest from supermarkets. These, after all, are areas still grappling with the legacy of redlining in the past, and areas that some academics have identified as current instances of supermarket redlining. The process by which businesses intentionally keep their distance from such areas for reasons that vary from crime rate and purchasing power to zoning restrictions and unfavorable street layouts. But regardless of their reasons, supermarkets simply don't exist in a large portion of the Atlanta metro area, creating an urban food desert. This is a void that dollar stores have stepped into. Unlike Atlanta supermarkets, dollar stores trend south and west.
So many, god damn.
Largely the areas left behind. And they provide an important service. They provide foodstuffs and basic home supplies at a low price point within walking distance or a manageable bus trip. This has happened in Atlanta, it's happened in Dallas, it's happened in New Orleans, and it's happened in a host of other major and minor American cities from Tulsa to Dayton. And in most of these urban cases, dollar stores effectively plug a hole that desperately needs to be plugged. It's for this reason that after some teenagers burned down a Dollar Tree in the city of Dayton in 2017, the community pleaded for it to be reopened.
Wow.
It's for this reason that the former New Orleans mayor celebrated the proliferation of dollar stores as the return of business investment in the city's East End post-Katrina. But plugging a hole is not solving a problem. It's just an imperfect temporary fix, not one meant to last. That's because the impact of a dollar store in a food desert isn't neutral to the health of a community, it's outright negative. Most American food deserts aren't so different from, of all places, Haven, Kansas. They have a dollar store, and they have, or until recently had, at least one grocery store that carries shelf-stable foods along with fresh produce and refrigerated meats and dairy products. The products that are lower margin for the business but lead to a more nutritious and diverse diet. Such stores have been harder and harder to come by, but many of America's tiniest towns have, against all odds, resisted the massive Albertsons and Kroger-fueled grocery industry consolidation. Too small to be attractive for the supermarket chains, and are home to some of the country's last independent grocers, right-sized to fit the communities they serve, barely hanging on as the brutal economics of America's monopolistic food supply system push them over the edge. But their perilous economics become all but impossible with the arrival of a neighboring dollar store. In Haven, Kansas, this store was Food Liner, which, after the opening of the Dollar General, saw its customer visits drop by nearly half, and after 3 years, saw its doors close for good. For any grocery store, it's typical for sales to drop by up to 30% when a dollar store is open nearby, as consumers head for canned soup, Frosted Flakes, Pop-Tarts, and the countless other shelf staples that are just a bit cheaper and a bit more convenient. This kills the grocery store that counts on such sales to justify carrying fresh produce, pushing them out of business.
I see.
This, in turn, makes it more difficult to buy healthy, nutritious food, destroying the food desert's oasis, and putting people of modest means and mobility at a nutritional disadvantage. And the impact of dollar stores on communities is broader than just what people eat. In early 2019, the Dayton Daily News reported on plans for a new Dollar General on the east side of town. It'd be taking the place of a now closed grocery store, and it'd be the 70th dollar store within a 10-mile radius of downtown Dayton.
$70 stores within 10 miles? What?
In Ohio. Like Atlanta, Dayton's dollar stores map closely along its most disadvantaged and downtrodden areas.
I get it, don't get me wrong, I do get it, but that is crazy. 70 within 10 miles. Flipping hell.
Where their density is the highest is where poverty rates are the highest, and where their footprint is nearly zero is the suburban communities of Kettering and Beaver Creek, where household incomes are higher and grocery stores far more prevalent. At the end of 2019, local news reported that there were 28 separate dollar store robberies in the Dayton area, down from the high water mark of 32 in 2017, but up from 24 in 2018. Effectively, dollar stores here have become a hotbed for crime. Now, in the case of Dayton, it's not that dollar stores are to be blamed for the area's crime rate, but rather that the design of the stores make them easy targets. Principally, these businesses deal in cash, as not until 2004 did Dollar General even take credit cards, making them ideal for a criminal of any level of experience. Beyond cash, overflowing trash outside, cluttered aisles inside, full window advertisements, light staffing, and outdated, poorly placed cameras, all hallmarks of dollar stores, both attract opportunistic burglary and make it difficult for police to safely navigate once they arrive on scene. In Dayton, the problem got to a point where the police received an average of nearly 1,000 calls to respond to dollar stores every year. In response, the police began to proactively work with Family Dollar employees to establish policies and management practices, from upkeep to more frequent cash transfers, that would reduce vulnerability. But the training just didn't take, as employees turned over so frequently and cared so little about their near minimum wage employer that they simply couldn't be bothered. Such high resignation, in both senses of the word, point to another long-standing issue only exacerbated by the arrival of dollar stores. Along with further drying out food deserts and tempting crime, dollar stores provide areas with only a few meager jobs. The lean labor model may work for dollar stores' profitability, but it doesn't do much for the surrounding community. To keep labor costs low, a dollar store will only employ 6 to 10 people, and they'll only be
6 to 10 people, what, overall?
paid around minimum wage. Dollar General, for instance, pays 92% of its employees under $15 an hour. By themselves, these numbers are bad, but they get worse once considering the grocery store that it might have replaced. That independent grocer provides around 20 jobs. The dollar store, less than 10. That independent grocer's profits stay circulating within the local economy. Dollar store profits are whisked away to faraway investors. With food, crime, and jobs, dollar stores aren't the root of a problem that impacts low-income communities, nor are they the answer. They're a creative response to problems that take advantage of problems and then exacerbate those problems. But perhaps the most foolproof evidence to articulate that dollar stores are just plain bad for rural and urban America alike is the fact that the communities themselves are pushing back against their advance. In response to the lack of pay and the danger inherent in working at Dollar General, employees in 2023 protested around the company's headquarters in Goodlettsville, Tennessee for better working conditions. In 2018, the city of Tulsa passed an ordinance to limit new dollar stores and instead encourage full-service grocery stores. In the move's wake, 75 communities have blocked dollar store proposals, and 54 cities have enacted limits on dollar store development. Of course, these numbers are minor in comparison to the tens of thousands of dollar stores now spread across the US, but each case of grassroots pushback serves as a powerful rebuttal. That these communities, now marked by the neon signs signaling that the rest of the world has largely forgotten about them, are a problem, and enough of a problem to bring communities together to fight back. Fundamentally, Dollar General and its close equivalents are simply following the economic path of least resistance. They're outcompeting local businesses, and they're doing it fairly. But that path of least resistance leaves a trail of destruction that disadvantages individuals. That's because individuals' best interests can work against their best interests. People prefer having a dollar store and a grocery store and shopping at both, but in the process of doing what they prefer in the short term, they destroy that grocery store and create a scenario that is less desirable for themselves in the long term. So that's what government is for. It's an assembly of individuals into a collective that can solve these strange mismatches between two sets of best interests. The American Main Street is a fragile environment. It's already taken a beating as big box retailers built up across the country, but that battle was fought from a distance. The one thing Walmart couldn't compete with was the locational convenience of small town stores for small towns. Dollar General can, and it is. It's got a simple yet unbeatable business model. It's a black hole that sucks up variety and vitality and litters the American landscape with these perfectly destructive beige boxes. Something I've noticed is that
This is an ad now. Come on, get this money. Well, there we go. I wasn't realizing how like sort of deep this goes. I mean, it's for people that need them. I completely understand. I mean, again, dollar stores here, you can get like basic things, and like it's typically a lot of unhealthy stuff. From what I know, there's not frozen stuff, but maybe it's changed recently. I think maybe they started doing like some sort of frozen food options now. It was never like that before, but we do have other stores here. There's one that I've gone to a couple of times, which I've always quite liked, because I wouldn't shop there. I would get a lot of things there that are cheaper, and then get like fresh stuff, because you couldn't get fresh stuff there and all that from like bigger stores. I say fresh stuff. I mean, bigger stores, the fruit and stuff probably isn't as fresh as it could be, but it's a lot fresher. But I didn't realize there's people that purely shop at these because obviously they have no other options, or they just don't have enough money, and that is very sad. Like, it is very sad, and I didn't realize the reliance on certain areas that they would have on these specific stores. My family owned a grocery store in rural South Dakota, and I can confirm Dollar General drove us to bankruptcy in 2018. These dollar stores are both brutal to the local economy and inhumane to people that both live and work there. Jesus, man. The quality of videos is growing consistently. Yeah, I do really enjoy his videos. He's definitely one of my favourite channels to react to. I think Dollar General is the only store I've been to where I completed a shopping trip without seeing another person. I was in rural Ohio visiting family when I went to pick up some items at Dollar General and realised nobody was there. I don't just mean customers. The checkout was automated, and there were no employees out on the floor. I can certainly see why. Flipping hell, man, that's crazy. As a Canadian who drove from Buffalo to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina last week, I kept noticing these dollar stores in tiny rural townships. I went from wondering how they survived to now understanding that they actually thrive. Sad reality, but thank you, whenever. Damn, man, I didn't realise it was like that. I'm really learning about them, because I didn't realise it was to that degree, and how they're actually like causing a lot of problems in terms of jobs and all that sort of stuff for the communities that they're in. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this video and dollar stores in general. And yeah, man, this is a real eye-opener to me, and yeah, it just shows just the brutality of, I guess, having to deal with these. I mean, again, they help people in terms of the prices, but that's that's what you gain from it, and then the stuff that the negative effects that they cause on the communities is so outweighing of the positives, it's unreal. But yeah, that's that, and yeah, until next time, peace.